Let's welcome in a former teammate of Charles Oakley. They played 4 seasons together in New York. Greg Anthony is an NBA TV and NBA on TNT analyst, and he is good enough to join us. Greg, what do you make of what happened at MSG on Wednesday night?
Well, it was surreal, right? If you were watching it, and I was actually watching a different game going back and forth, and my Twitter feed started blowing up, and I saw the video, and obviously immediately turned over, and it was shocking to see it play out right in the midst of a game, and I didn't really have, as I'm sure a lot of people didn't have, point of reference at the time until kind of after the fact, you got the sense of what this was all about. And, Charles said that, he was behaving himself accordingly. And then all of a sudden he had a bunch of security guys that said he had to leave. So I'm not sure what triggered that, if anything at all, and why we're at this point. But, as you saw in the video, Charles is really not a guy you want to confront, and you try to avoid at all costs.
Certainly. He got his reputation as an enforcer for a reason. We were just watching the video of him being escorted out of the building. Now, Oakley, Greg, claims that the Knicks haven't treated him well in retirement. This actually goes back pretty far. As a former Knick yourself, how has the organization treated you since you left the team?
I haven't had any issues with the organization. I think a lot of what Charles is talking about stems from some comments that he's made that weren't necessarily positive, but from the standpoint of where he's looking at it, and most fans who care about the organization, the fact that the team, hadn't had a lot of success in the last, 15 years or so, is somewhat disappointing. It's not as if they haven't spent the money. And, like any fan, especially someone who's played for him, but a fan in general who's supportive of an organization, if you feel like they not necessarily going down the right track or right path, you're going to maybe say some things that are negative. Now, granted, in Charles's case, what he says is going to be covered by the media, and it's going to carry more weight, and I don't know that that was necessarily something that the organization was happy with. But, that's kind of par for the course. As athletes, as people who run organizations have to know we're in the business of being criticized. And so if we're not doing some things that a lot of people feel we should be doing, or at the level we should be doing, we're going to get criticized. And you can't be too thin-skinned about that. You got to accept it, own up to it, and move forward.
Greg, it's such an ugly scene that we saw with Oakley. You know him personally. Yeah. He's a passionate guy. He was a physical, passionate player on the court. But have you ever seen him go off like we saw last night?
Well, I've seen him, to your point, in situations on the floor where things can get heated or get escalated. And again, I would also caution people to appreciate where he's coming from, and I did get a chance to finally hear it from him in terms of his comments. He felt like there was, I don't know how many security guards ended up confronting him in that situation. You guys saw the video as well. And, if that happens to you, you could tend to be a little bit defensive. And so I think that's what allowed this thing to kind of escalate. And so from his standpoint, I get it. But, yeah, absolutely. There have been times on the floor where he's had issue with a player or what have you, and he's going to let you know about it. And that's kind of the way he carries himself in life. Charles is, as I've said before, he's not a person to be messed with in a manner in which he feels like you're antagonizing him or maybe not treating him with the proper respect. And so, that's kind of par for the course. And he's always been somebody who I've taken great lengths to make sure that I was always on his good side, just because he's not somebody who you'd like to be on the other side.